Howdy, everyone. My name is Lanzer. I am excited to bring you the first inaugural SANDDAO Podcast, episode number 1. This is basically a podcast I put together very recently, and all it is just an exploration into the Sandbox DAO from the perspective of a community member, SandFam, myself, and exploring what we think and all the different facets, because this is the iceberg that was announced not long ago, and it has so many different factors to it, so many different things that we want to explore as we bond together as a community, as we decide what we want to do about the Sandbox DAO and how that's going to end up affecting the Sandbox game. So today, I'm bringing on HODLHill and AndyRichy, so two well-known voices in the community, and we're gonna get into our personal reactions for what has happened since May 28th. All this kicked off. So, welcome HODL, welcome Andy. Thank you very much for doing this.
Hey. Pleasure to be here. Oh, I'm looking forward
Thanks for having us.
Cool. So everything sounds good. All the checks are gone. And let's start. So some of you may not be familiar with my style of podcasting. I'm a podcaster before, and I like visuals. I'm big into data. I'm big into research. So as some of you have seen before now, I was putting a lot of research and things together in order to put these slides. So down here, right down there, are the slides where you can follow along with us as we talk. So this is the introduction slide, and now we can move to slide 2. So, scope of the talk. I always do this because this is the slide that helps you and I both agree on what it is we're talking about, what we're not talking about. What we're doing here in this slide, in this podcast episode, is sharing reactions. So Andy's reaction and HODL's reaction and my reaction to the events that have unfolded. So that's it in a nutshell. What it isn't, we don't anticipate debating. Like, you're not gonna, I doubt you're gonna see us arguing with each other a whole lot. Maybe, but we both all come to the table to discuss and to explore together. So this isn't gonna be meant to be a hardcore debate. And yeah, that's the scope. So we're just reacting at this point, trying to figure this out, just like everybody else is. And with that, we'll go into introductions. And HODL, who are you, where are you from, and what's an interesting fact about yourself?
HODL, or HODLHill, or whatever you want to.
You pronounce it HODL
I'm in
or
Canada, West Coast. HODL. Most people say HODL.
HODL.
Been in the Sandbox since about alpha number 1. Landowner, avatar owner, general pain in the butt, bugging all the builders, and in the last year and a bit, streamer.
Yeah, and if you don't know, HODL does streams where she will play people's games. That's where she and I met during Builders Challenge when we published Floor Droppers at Meta Worlds, and HODL played our game, and that's where HODL and I met. So thank you again for doing that, HODL. I appreciate that you try to go to people's games and give your comments and your feedback.
Happy to. Love the SandFam.
Yeah.
Sorry if my audio is breaking up a bit. Internet. I'm going to try shutting some stuff down.
Yeah, no problem. All right, and what's an interesting fact people wouldn't guess about you, HODL?
Oh, an interesting fact that they wouldn't guess?
Or just a fact that people wouldn't have guessed.
I had six wisdom teeth.
You broke up there a little bit. You have 6 wisdom teeth pulled? Is that what I just heard you say?
Yep.
All right.
I
There it
had
is.
6 bonus ones.
All right, thanks. And Andy, go ahead.
Hey. Yeah, I'm AndyRichy. I've been, a lot of you know me from the Sandbox. I started probably about 3.5, 4 years ago, geez. A long time ago. And I just started by entering one of the game jams and then was lucky to finish in the top 10. And from there, everything kind of took off and started streaming, building, joined the Sandbox, ran the Sandbox Game jams for a while, and then stepped back and started on Boop Goop, and been building Boop Goop for now for, about 2 years, and we created an experience for Unstoppable Domains not that long ago, and yeah, we've done a lot of stuff in the space, and that's about it really. Boop Goop.
You said
is
you
what I
won a
have to
game
say.
jam?
Yeah, well, I finished in the top 10 of game jam number 3, which is originally when I entered. I built a
Gotcha.
game called the Land of Valentina.
Gotcha. The Land of Valentina. I don't think I played that one.
I don't think it is playable at the moment.
You
It
don't
was
think it's
built.
playable at the moment?
Oh, it was built in. It was built a long time ago.
Gotcha.
I have opened it a couple of times. It's still
What, like
it's
pre-version 10 or 8 or something?
No, I think version 6.
Oh, wow. All
I
right.
think it was. I can't remember what it was built in. I think the earliest we came was like version 4. I think from the Sandbox.
Gotcha. All right. Thanks, Andy. And what's a fact about yourself that people wouldn't have guessed about you?
Oh gosh, I don't know about that one. I don't know. Don't have any interesting facts off the top of my head at the moment. I jumped out of a plane.
What do you?
plane
What's
when I
your
was
hobbies when you're
16.
not doing Sandbox stuff?
Nina. No,
What'd
I
you
like cars. Nina, my dog. She
Oh, your dog,
becomes.
okay.
Yeah,
A
we
fur
take
dad?
Nina out quite a lot. And well, I like to go camping and stuff as well. You know, being so like connected to the new technology that's going on, it's nice to disconnect from that every now and again.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I like doing stuff outdoors and being adventurous. Yeah, I jumped out of a plane when I was 16. That was fun.
Escape Room says you like soccer.
No, can you ban
No.
them please from the stream for the use of that word?
All right. Okay. Thank you. Appreciate you introduce yourself, Andy and Huddle. I am Lanzer, and I am. I come from gaming side of the house and esports stuff. I used to be I played PlanetSide 2 a lot, which is an MMO FPS game, and I did a lot of podcasting, stream that stuff. Now I've been in the crypto space for a while. Sandbox since season 1, I think midway through season 1. So I'm Avatar, I have lands and the like, and just been really interested in the space and seen it evolve and develop. My background is contract negotiations, contract writing, also program management and product owner. So I have a I'm super interested. The SANDDAO to me is the intersection of all of my passions and stuff. So that's one of the reasons why I started this up, to get more involved. So thank you all. Appreciate your time. That's the intros, and let's go into the disclaimer. We wouldn't be right if we didn't disclaim all the appropriate stuff. So first thing is, as a group and individuals, Andy, HODLHill, and I, we do not represent the Sandbox Game or the Sandbox Foundation. We speak for ourselves as SandFam community members. So all the stuff that goes along with that. And last but not least, because we're in the blockchain crypto space alongside the gaming, we are not your financial or legal advisors. Do not take anything we say as financial or legal advice. Please Do yourself that favor. We are not advocating for should you buy this or that or where should you put your money. And not what we're here to do. Not in how any of our comments need to be taken. So with that legal administrivia out of the way, we can now get to the heart of the matter. The Sandbox DAO. So this little roadmap is to catch everybody up. Past, present, and future, whether you're watching this now or later on. It all started May 28th. It actually started a long time ago because the white paper and the original vision of Seb was that the DAO would eventually be introduced, but it really hadn't emerged in any sort of significant way until May 28th. Was that 2 weeks ago? 3 weeks ago, on a Tuesday, May 28th, I get an email in my inbox and a Medium article drops from Sandbox announcing the Sandbox DAO. DAO is decentralized autonomous organization. It is basically a group surrounding a token, cryptocurrency, or community that organizes itself to govern, whether that be implementing rules, regulations, processes. It's like an association. You call it an organization, a nonprofit, any sort of allegory there that can help you understand. It's a group that puts rules in places so it can govern itself, usually to govern how it spends money. And that is where the interesting thing started taking a turn when this was announced suddenly 3 weeks ago, where I didn't know it was going to happen. I don't know, Andy, did you know it was going to happen?
The DAO was in the roadmap for a long time on it, but obviously we didn't predict it was going to come upon us so quick, I don't think.
Yeah. Did you know it was going to get dropped on May 28th?
No.
Yeah. HODL, did you?
No, same. Like we knew,
Yeah.
we all knew it was
So we-
supposed to be there, but
Right.
there's
We
a lot of
heard
things that are
whispers,
supposed,
but none of us knew it was going to happen.
and we
and
don't
drop.
know when they're gonna happen.
Right. So it was dropped on that Wednesday, or that Tuesday, excuse me. When it dropped, SIPs 1, 2, and 3 were immediately made ready to vote. And that was the Sandbox Foundation, it was the initial budget, and the approval of, I forget the third one. But those 3 SIPs immediately dropped. SIP 3 was, that was the budget. SIP 2 was the foundation, and SIP 1 was introducing the Sandbox DAO, right? So that happened May 28th. But it didn't count land as voting power. That's an important note for what happens later. So that's May 28th. June 12th, SIP 4 and 5, the carbon neutral capture and the supporting the Red Cross. Those were made available to vote on June 12th. It did count land as voting power in the snapshot. All right, so then June 13th, a day later, Sandbox DAO revokes SIP 1, 2, and 3 that was introduced in May 28th, and then resubmits it to count land as voting power. All right, so initial community reaction was swift. Many people were like, where in the world did this come from? Why weren't we consulted? And what does this all mean for us? People were very quick to note that the voting power was not inclusive of land. It was only inclusive of held sand and wallets. So 1-to-1. 1 sand equals 1 voting power. And then lands come into play, where 4.5 thousand voting power was given to 1 land. So that then SIPs 1, 2, and 3 were reintroduced, and then put back to a vote. Then everything starts unfurling. People are talking in the forums, but adjacent to that, a lot of AMAs and Twitter spaces start opening up. So starting June 1st, Mochaverse Hall hosts their first Sandbox DAO Twitter space. All right, so that was on a Saturday. That was 3 weeks ago. And then June 4th, Sandbox DAO hosts its DAO AMA, and that's where Seb and Cyril and Loretta Chen and Fred and Shannon all answer questions. All the questions that people, the community have. I think, Andy, you were there for that one. And then
Yeah.
June 8th, Mochaverse Hall hosts its second Twitter space. So they host them every Saturday at 12 p.m. EST. Then Dr. Metaverso hosts another DAO AMA, June 12th. So that was this past week, right? Last Wednesday. More Q&As, more people trying to discover, explore what's going on with the DAO, how does this come to be, why weren't we consulted, and the whole nine. And again, some people from the special council was there to answer. Then June 14th, 2 days ago, Andy, you host a Twitch interview with Pepe from SandRush. And SandRush proposed the first community-introduced sandbox improvement proposal. So that's the first one that wasn't introduced from the May 28th announcement and the June right after that. And then yesterday, Mochaverse hosts its third Twitter space. And again, more community people showed up to talk about what we think. Whoops, I forgot to reorder this one. Back at the June 12th. Whoops. Back at June 12th, SIPs 4 and 5 close. It passed the first one with 88% of the vote, and then SIP 5 passed with 81% of the vote. And then a day later, SIP 1, 2, and 3 close. The SIP 1 passes with 89%, SIP 2 passes with 93%, and SIP 3 passes with 64%. And then we fast forward back to where we are now with yesterday, Mochaverse hosting the third Twitter space, and now you're all caught up. That's what happened. Now what does it mean and everything? That's what we're about to get into. So, some interesting facts to ground everybody. How many SIPs have been submitted so far for vote? 5. How many SIPs have passed so far? 5. Let's go with, what does a SIP mean? Sandbox Improvement Proposal. What is a DAO? Decentralized Autonomous Organization. Okay. How many draft SIPs are available now for community comment? 2. There's the creator first, and then there's the magic palette. And that's what Andy yesterday was talking with Pepe from SandRush, was the magic palette draft SIP. You can find those in the forum. And here is... So if you go up here to the forum under proposal ideas, SIP draft, then you'll find the first 2 right there. All right. Each SIP requires a quorum to be eligible to pass. And that is 1% of the sand supply, which is 30 million voting power. Each SIP requires a majority to pass, meaning 50% or more, which means that when something goes on the floor to vote, if it doesn't meet the quorum, it doesn't matter whether it passes or fails, it will automatically fail. So it's got to reach that $30 million threshold, 30 million voting power threshold. Then it's allowed to pass or fail. And it's only allowed to pass if it receives a simple majority, which is more than 50%. For voting power, if you own 1 sand in your wallet, you have 1 voting power per sand. If you own 1 land, that's worth 4,500 voting power. So you can do the math, and that should equal your total voting power when you go to vote in the snapshot. All right, so there we go. Interesting facts. Now that we're all level set, let's start with the discussion. Actually, I forgot about the tidbits. Let's read the tidbits. So the vision of the SAO, per the website, the SAO Foundation is a steward tasked with administering the decisions of the DAO and managing the accompanying operations, including management of the treasury and employment of the DAO support team. The Special Council. Special Council members provide guidance, self-improvement proposals, ensuring that they align with the Sandbox DAO's vision and community interests. They also hold decision-making power and can veto proposals based on legality, redundancy, conflict, and community interest. And I forgot about the advisory board, so the advisory board Sandbox DAO Advisory Board They are leaders in their respective fields. These ambassadors and strategic advisors leverage their expertise and networks to guide the DAO towards its vision of a decentralized, vibrant metaverse. This multidisciplinary team reflects the Sandbox's diverse and global reach while fostering a community that values creativity, innovation, and inclusivity. The way Seb and all of them described them and the AMAs was that they help advise the what Seb says he wants to be the cultural epicenter of the metaverse. So this advisory board is to assist the DAO and Seb and the special counsel in achieving that goal. So those are the definitions per the website. And with that, let's jump into it. That went longer than I thought, HODL. Andy, sorry about that.
No worries.
So the
There's lots to go
discussion.
through.
Here are the questions that we want to go over, and I will highlight them so that you can see as we go, first and foremost. So, Andy, let's go with you first, man. What's your reaction to all this? Good, bad, and ugly.
Overall good, I think. DAO is needed. There's a lot of positivity that come from it. The community have been raising their concerns that their voice isn't being heard, and this is a chance for them to be heard. But obviously, the big but there. This is something that is going to have a huge impact on everything, and rushing it shouldn't be done.
Do you feel it's being rushed right now?
Yeah, 100%. And a part of it needs to be rushed because you can't sit and dwindle all day, you know. But like the fact that the announcement of the DAO went live and like the council members had already been chosen, that had already been made public, they'd already said that they're joining the Sandbox DAO, and it feels like very much that the first 3 SIPs were going ahead no matter what. And that's fair enough if the Sandbox wanted to do that, but I don't know why you'd make the SIP if you're going to do it anyway. If you want to do it, you're still in charge of the company, do it, and then announce the DAO afterwards. Here's what we're starting with the DAO, the community can have input afterwards. And they've made it seem like we have input now, and really, we don't. The first 3 SIPs were going ahead no matter what. And
Until they resubmitted them, yeah.
well, yeah, like, again, there's another thing that is like a small issue, but again, it shows they're rushing it and they're not paying attention properly. The fact that land wasn't included in the first 3 SIPs, and then staked sand is not taken into account either. So the fact that they then extended the first 3 SIPs, why didn't they extend the other 2, 4 and 5? You know, I know there weren't issues with them, but it seems silly for stuff to go ahead and be approved before the DAO has even been approved to exist, even if it is going to go through no matter what.
Gotcha. What did you think about Cyril's explanation where they made mistakes, but they needed to start somewhere, and they acknowledged those mistakes? Sorry. That was the message.
I come from a background of electrical engineering, and
oh, okay.
You have to make mistakes, you know, to learn. But part of learning is making mistakes, and at the end of the day, you have to try and mitigate as many mistakes as you can so that you don't have errors. But at the end of the day, if you're testing something that's new, then you're going to come across errors. As long as you learn from them and react quickly, then that's the way forward.
Gotcha.
So I agree with the mentality, but I don't...
Do you think they would have...
Go on, HODL, sorry.
Sorry, I was going to say, do you think they would have admitted that it was a mistake if there hadn't been an outcry? Or if they would have just gone ahead?
They wouldn't know that there's a mistake if there wasn't an outcry. Part of the community's responsibility is to offer constructive criticism. You know, if we aren't happy with something, there's no point us throwing the teddy out the cot. We have to come forward and say we aren't happy with this because of this, and we would like it to happen this way instead. You know, you need to, if you're going to come to them with a problem, you need to at least offer a solution you're viable to accept.
Fair.
So I think, like, if we didn't have the uproar or the issues about the DAO, then the Sandbox wouldn't know that the issues existed.
Gotcha. So your overall reaction is it's good, it was needed, but it was rushed.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
Okay.
If they're announcing the DAO, I think they should have at least given the community a little bit of time to absorb the concept of the DAO before putting in those first 3 SIPs. Even if it's a week, just give them that little bit of time before they feel like stuff is open and they have to vote now and they got to submit the vote within 2 weeks. It feels the pressure was applied and there didn't need to be.
Fair. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate you sharing that. All right, HODL, what's your reaction? And by the way, self-disclose, you didn't really know. You haven't been following along much, right?
I've been trying to not form an opinion because I haven't read everything, which
Wise.
There's a lot, obviously,
That's
and I haven't
wise.
listened to everything. So, but initial reactions, I agree with a lot of what Andy's saying. It's needed, but the way that it was rolled out was not great. I don't think they necessarily were admitting a mistake. I think they were getting caught trying to sneak something through a little bit, especially with the council members. Like, I'm not saying we have to do everything the same way other DAOs have done things, but I think council members are usually nominated, voted on, chosen by the community, not just appointed. And especially if we're going to be paying them out of this fund, I think we should have some say.
Fair point.
And the staked sand is an issue still, I think, right? Because they've been pushing us to stake our sand, and now the fact that we had it staked is preventing us. Like, most of my sand is staked. So I have some land voting points, but not much in the sand department.
Gotcha.
Anyways.
So you agree with Andy. Overall, it's needed, but the way it was rolled out wasn't great. The board should be voted in, and the stake sand is still an issue.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
All right. My reaction is it began like in the same way Kristen's did, Andy, HODL, yours as well. It came out of nowhere. And when I'm reading these things, it's wanting to approve a budget that it's already spending, ? So that did feel super rushed. And Andy, I think even to this day, I still feel the same way you do about, I would have wished they had been socialized before May 28th and the SIPs were rolled out the same day. It's just kind of like, surprise, vote now. And so there's this learning curve that we all have to make, especially for those of us who are just gamers and have no idea what a DAO is. I think I maybe watched like 5 or 6 YouTube videos right after May 28th to try and figure this out. And then attending the Mochaverse halls with G and the group that joins that, listening to what they already know about the DAO and their impression, given they come from Mocha and 8-Point DAO stuff. And so it was interesting to learn. I wanted to know what they knew, and what I didn't figure out as I was delving into the details was, even though in the beginning Sandbox did make some obvious mistakes, which Cyril and Seb openly admit in the AMAs. I don't recall if it was just the community outcry that prompted it, HODL. Maybe it was a bit of both, that they realized it, but Cyril mentioned many times how he was sorry that the way it was rolled out, they did make some mistakes. Namely, they didn't include land, and then also they sometimes voted, and that's where I mentioned in the beginning on the forums that the vote was already decided with, what was it, like many millions. It was many millions. Take a look.
Yeah, of course they have the voting power to push through anything that they want.
Million votes instantly on yes. Instantly. And that was like, well, What real voice do we really have? So that stuck out to me big time. But they ended up fixing that when they resubmitted. They fixed it, and Sandbox declined to vote on the first 3, so they just let the community vote. And at the end of the day, so here in the later slide we have what the results were, but then the slide after I have who are the top voters. And as you'll notice in SIPs 1, 2, and 3, Sandbox is absent from that voting power, so they let the community vote by themselves. SIPs 4 and 5, they did vote, so that was pretty much an automatic yes. Sandbox rolling in with 27 million voting power. Not much any of us can do about that one, I don't think. So consider the carbon capture and the Red Cross done from the beginning as a yes. So that to me was like, but Cyril in an AMA mentioned that it was a mistake and oversight on their part, because I think Crafter correctly pointed out in one of the AMAs, like, even though Seb mentioned he doesn't want, and the group doesn't want to use their voting power, they did in this case, and Cyril said it was an oversight. So I'll take them at their word, because at this point they are following through on the actions that I see that they are proposing, that they want to replace themselves eventually with the board members, with the elected members, and now their initial strong, here's what it is to set the DAO on a path of organization and health, and then they get voted out of a job, and to them that is the goal. So we'll see if that unfolds the way that they described in these AMAs. I am fascinated to see, though, that they did not vote SIPs 1, 2, and 3. I think that's a step in the right direction toward letting the community decide, which is what Seb said he really wanted to do. Let the community decide, and then that will rebound on the game company. So that's my reaction. At the very beginning, I was skeptical in the beginning because of all the factors that were at play, with Sandbox voting instantly, and then the SIPs not, that were predetermined at that point, and then did not know the board. I knew a few of them, like I'm a WoW holder, so I knew when I saw Shannon's name, I understood that one, and there were a couple others I noticed, but the vast majority of the special council, the advisory board, I don't really know. I haven't really seen them in the community much, so I was very skeptical about that and how we were already voting for their approval. Like, who in the community was voting for them that knew them? It wasn't obvious to me that many people from the community was voting for them. So I was very skeptical about all that. But then, over time, in the past 3 weeks, I'd say my skepticism has turned into healthy optimism.
Do you think that's because they're getting paid to be more attentive towards the community?
Say that again?
Do you think that's only because they're being paid to be more attentive towards the community?
Well, I still haven't seen anything from the special board, or the advisory board. Right, so these people down here, I haven't seen any of them participate. Loretta Chen did. Loretta Chen did attend an AMA, but I don't. Anthony Chow, Ina Mojja, Matthew, Mia, Samuel, Zaf, I haven't seen them. Have you, HODL or Andy?
No.
Okay. So to
be honest, I don't know any.
No.
I know Hermit Crab Studios, and I've had interactions with Loretta previously.
Okay.
But I don't think. Yeah, but I don't think any of that has been positive. So.
Well, I heard her speak about why she was involved and what she wanted to do. And to me, cool. I mean, I'm just gonna wait and see, and then give my feedback as things go along. I had no opinion one way or the other because I'm still too new to this, so I wanted to give her the benefit of the doubt and the rest of the board, but I haven't heard from them except for Loretta. And then on the special council, the only one I haven't heard from is Jean-Michel and Yatsu. I'm so sorry if I'm mispronouncing your name.
Yeah.
Very sorry.
Yeah, CEO of Animoca. Animoca, obviously, a huge investor in the Sandbox. I've seen Yat a few times, and Yat is he seems like he's busier than Seb somehow, but he still tries to make time for people. So I've had good interactions with Yat before.
That's awesome to hear. And I heard Shannon. She spoke a number of times in the AMAs. Frederic heard him as well, and then Seb. So
I think Shannon's made a positive effort to interact with the community.
Yeah, I tweeted back to her after I saw her listen to her AMA. I want to do a podcast with her because she talked about how she consulted a lot of other DAOs to put research into being a good council member, and I really want to know more about that. I want to learn. I want us to hear what she's learned, to see what is it, how can it apply to us, how can it benefit the community. But yes, I was very.
Has anyone asked them how they were chosen, how they were approached to be part of this council?
Yes, I wrote it down. I think under the tidbits. So Cyril on the 4 June AMA, he and Seb also explained that they selected the initial council members and special advisors based on who they trusted to help guide them through the initial stages of bringing the DAO to life. So they were handpicked.
So they wanted to give their friends some. Hey friends, here's some sand.
You could use the word friends. I would probably use the word network because I imagine some of them are business partners. But I won't disagree with the way you characterize it. I don't know. I don't know the relationships between them.
I agree with the initial council. The Seb, Yat, and so on. I agree with that group of people. I think there should be a team that is selected by the Sandbox, which understand the Sandbox values and direction for the future. And I think they should have a say in it. A lot of those are big, large investors of the Sandbox. So gotcha. I think it's only fair that a group of people, the board, that kind of have a final say and dictate the direction of the company.
Yeah, I don't know much about Jean or Frederic, Grail Capital or Ariane. I don't know much about them. I didn't get time to do all my data mining that I wanted to before this episode, but subsequent podcasts will be me doing that.
Ariane is a French company, I think, like a capital investment company, again. So they're all basically investors, I feel, very much
gotcha.
so.
That's probably true. Someone who has a stake in it going well.
Yeah. So I agree with those, but the ones underneath, I think we had the time. Why not vote? Why not? They're getting paid a lot of money to do it, and
are they?
We haven't heard. Go and have a look at the breakdown for the budget for the initial council members.
It didn't seem like. Wasn't it like 40,000 USD? I remember looking that up. I forgot to put it in my slide, but how much are they getting? Let's look at the
initial DAO budget was 15 million or something.
Was it 2? This is foundation. No, we want Sandbox.
The initial
SIP.
budget.
It's 3, right? Yeah, here's the budget. Here's SIP 3. And the budget is for 15 million, if I recall. There it is, 15.5 million sand. So divided by 2 is how many US dollars. And then operations got 1.8 million, and that's to pay the special council members, maintain the DAO's tech stack, legal services, compliance, wallet, banking services. So not just for special council members. Does it say? And in the AMA, I think it was George who wanted a little bit more fidelity on that. How much were people being paid specifically? So let's just say the worst case scenario, all 1.8 million sand was being given to the members. Worst case scenario, or maybe the best case in the scenario for them. So that was it for the board or just the council? I think it's just special council members. So the board, I don't think is getting paid. I think I have that in a note somewhere that they weren't taking. I think Loretta mentioned that.
That changed my perspective on things. I didn't know that, but if that is the case, then
don't quote me because I remember Loretta when she first came on. I'm like, that was really interesting to know. Compensation, maybe? Yeah, Loretta's compensation. No. Someone please fact check. I believe Loretta mentioned in her AMA, it was AMA 4 June when she was talking. So 1.8 million, let's say, just for the council members, of which there are 5. So divided by 5, 360,000 sand. So $180,000 USD. Okay. No, I'm with you on that, Andy.
This covers it to the end of next year, so it's 18 months in total.
Right. That was another thing that, and through the AMA, was brought up. Why were their term lengths so long? Cyril, I think, gave a great explanation for that, and I'd have to read it word for word to make that, to not misrepresent him. So it was 2025, right? That's when December 2025.
Yeah, they claim 6 months isn't long enough to make an impact on the direction of the DAO.
Right, and then they had to cross over to the election cycle, which is, I think he said, I don't want to misrepresent him. He gave a month of when in the Constitution it says when the elections are going to have or when the term lengths will end, and so it just made sense for him to push it out all the way to the end of the year. I'm like, you know what? That sounds reasonable. I'm not mad at that.
I think it's reasonable, but at the end of the day, it's a problem that could easily be avoided.
Sure, yeah.
There's a lot of information that the community don't have, and they're trying to piece together what made them make the decision that they did.
Yeah, well,
and
yeah, I think they did a good explanation. They did do the AMAs. I think they gave some good explanations. I walked away from it thinking, not as suspicious as when I first read all of this.
Okay. Well, like, if there is a problem with 6 months not being long enough, why not wait till the end of the year? Why not run it for 12 months and have it end in the middle of the year? You know, why not address the problem, and why not just say, oh well, we didn't think 6 months was enough, so we did 18. You know, why couldn't we do 12 months from the middle of the year?
Yeah, that's a big jump from 6 to 18.
I'm trying to find where Cyril answered that question, because someone asked him that exact thing, and I had to write it down because I wasn't able to fully comprehend it.
I remember the AMA, but I felt very much that they just gave us answers that we wanted to hear that were very corporate answers.
Really? You didn't think that they were sincere?
No, not really. Not from the past that I've had. That I've, like, if they do it once, yeah, fair enough, you could say it's sincere. But if they do it twice or 3 times or 4 times, it loses its sincerity.
Oh, I see. You think there's something else going on there?
There's always more information, isn't there? There's always a bigger picture.
Got it. All right, I found it. So it was the 12 June AMA. Crafter asks, why was the 1.5 years implemented for the initial positions? Seems like a long time. Cyril said, and I'm quoting almost, budget is reset every January. We get an annual allowance from the DAO. It's frustrating for the council members to make any impact in that time frame, so we forward projected and landed at the next January, which is 1.5 years. And that's that.
Yeah, it's just a very, like, there was a problem, so that was our way of overcoming it, was extending it. What's the point of having the DAO if you want the community to vote, if when you have situations like this, you don't let the community vote?
Fair.
You know, what they've really done is cement the next 18 months as their direction.
True. I mean, that was their stated goal, yes. To set it on a path.
They've just pushed the problem back again, though. Like, rather than addressing the problem, they've gone, well, we could extend the problem to 6 months, or we could extend it to 18 months. It's like, yeah, let's deal with that later.
Well, their stated view is they want 1.5 years to figure it out. so that it's not a problem after that time.
What's to figure out though?
I don't know.
It's the whole
I'm not
point of
sure.
a DAO is it's autonomous.
Probably,
It's
you know, taking in community reaction, trying to figure out what the SIPs are going to look like, and then incorporating whatever rules they feel they need to protect the DAO, and then let the community take it over after that, and, you know, amend the Constitution. Cyril said many times that after we do this and we set you all on the path, the Constitution is amendable. You can change it after. So, but Escape Room points out in chat, he preferred that we had figured this out before the vote. Go ahead,
Right
Otto.
now, it has the community's attention, and it maybe not the best attention. And in 6 months, it might still have the community's attention, but in 18 months, I feel like it will have lost a lot of its luster, a lot of its interest. So by then, they'll be able to do whatever they want because people will have stopped fighting.
That rolls
People
right
stop
into the
fighting.
next
That's my
question,
opinion on
HODL.
that.
Where do we see this going? So I just heard your take on it. You think we're gonna eventually lose our attention on it, and then that'll give them the opportunity to do whatever they want.
Yeah, I mean, they already have the opportunity to do whatever they want. So
They have the opportunity, yes.
they're just giving us the illusion of power.
Well,
now.
I mean, when you look at the actual power of votes going on here, whoever Cryptopolitan is, and then those other wallets, like they're. What I don't see is Sandbox on that. So there was a chance for that to say no. I don't know who Cryptopolitan is.
I guess.
Yeah,
But
it
it's
was.
probably just somebody that's close with Seb or Yad or you know what I
So
mean?
you take the more cynical approach.
Yeah, I'm a cynic.
Okay.
The other
I
thing
give
is
them the benefit of the doubt. That's my my perspective.
If you have the voting power of 4 million, are you gonna vote for this not to go ahead because you have such a large vote?
Yeah, I very nearly voted no. I did vote
Like
no on
if-
one of them.
If that person has 4 million votes and the quorum is 30 million, they have over 10% of the power needed to make this go ahead. So
Yeah, that's fair.
Then they're not gonna vote no because they want to be able to have that large voting power. So of course the big heavy hitters are going to vote for being able to have more of an impact. And I don't disagree with that. If you've invested loads of money in the Sandbox, then I think you should have more say, you know.
Yeah. Well, I'm interested in helping to bring order. I want there to be a healthy approach to this that incorporates fairly big and small. And I've been thinking a lot about what SIP I have about 7 SIPs I've scripted out. One of them is a SIP for introducing kind of like either like a parliamentary or Congress approach, which has based on numbers and then based on just positions. And that kind of balances out what we think it does. But I don't know. I've been racking my brain as to what I want to propose to try and to counter some of the stuff that I'm hearing from other DAOs, which I barely know anything about, by the way. So I need to get the Mocha team in here and other people to talk about what their experience is with the 8-point DAO, what's going on with their delegates, and apparently something's blowing up over there. I don't know. So HODL, you think it's gonna die down? Yeah.
I think interest in anything wanes over time.
Okay.
Or like ebbs and flows. Like even the Sandbox in general. It has been, the biggest metaverse, the most exciting thing. And then it sort of died off a bit and other things took its place, or just in general, the metaverse interest is down currently. So it's impossible to see the future. 6 months, 18 months, it doesn't matter. But I think
fair.
that this will just become another part of the sandbox that people will either be interested in or they won't, and that's fair. Like, there's so many different facets to the sandbox that you can be involved in. You can be here just to make art, make games, make friends, play games, you know, like, you don't have to be involved in the DAO at all, so...
That's true. We don't.
Yeah. It's
Andy?
gonna be tough to people's interest in this, I think.
Andy, what do you think? Where is this going?
One of two ways. The DAO is, a lot of the SIPs for the DAO are going to be asking for funds, and the DAO at the end of the day is a drain on the sandbox funds. Now, the whole purpose is that the SIPs that are submitted bring more value to the sandbox than they consume through the initial funding. And if it's not successful in that way, then the DAO is just going to drain the sand, and all of the sand that goes into the DAO is going to be sold. You know, they're going to sell it. That's the whole purpose of asking for the revenue. It is to sell it, or asking for the funds. Sorry. So it's either going to go one way of the DAO just sucking sand from the sandbox without bringing that value, or two, it's going to be successful and the community interact and share the same opinions with the large holders of the sandbox, and we can actually have our say. But it requires things like this being done, you know, making sure that everyone's opinions are like heard and everyone's perspectives are understood, so that people can make a decision that they think is suitable. Because at the end of the day, you're voting for you. You know, whoever holds the sand, the land, they're voting for what situation they're in and their circumstances, and that might not be the same as someone else's. So if we can understand where people are coming from, we can hopefully make a vote that suits the community.
Well said. Well, for the record, I scripted out 7 SIPs that I haven't yet fully created a template for. Only one of them is asking for money. The other 6 are just things I'm like, guys, can we please implement this?
And I hope a lot more of the SIPs are about that, you know, frustrations from the community and easy fixes, or just a slight change of direction in the sandbox approach.
The Builders Challenge too was a great feedback for me, because floor droppers, we put in some deals with nonprofits, fresh gamers who have never played Sandbox, and I just kept track of all the things. You're like, hey, why does it do this? Why don't we have that? And just things that seem obvious to them that we're missing. And so that's where a lot of my SIP ideas are coming from, is that, and just other things I've seen over the years. Simple stuff that I wish they would please just do.
We absolutely need those new people.
Right.
Well, that's if the council, if the group of people that are on the DAO, I keep forgetting, the advisory board or whatever.
Yeah.
If they don't understand these frustrations, and for them everything's working fine and their company is ticking over, this is great, that they're not going to understand the difficulties of the tools, or, like I say, the frustrations that the developers have, and that make it a lot easier for the community, or them to interact with their community.
That's why I was so interested and happy to see the Magic Palette, Andy, when you did that with Pepe. That was so cool to see, because that, to me, even though it is asking for money, so you know that's our first test case for what do we want this to be. But it was cool to see that him addressing that problem.
I like the one from SandRush because it does bring value to the community. It's not like they're not funding a private project, they're funding something that they're hopefully planning to, like, not open source, but allow the community to use for free. And I think creating a baseline of better experiences within the sandbox is only gonna mean higher retention for players that are in here and new users coming in.
Yeah. So you see it going one of two ways. Either it's gonna go really well or it's gonna go really bad.
Yeah, but like HODL said, the community are just gonna brush it off because, like, catalysts are another thing. After 6 months, everyone kind of just gave up on them, and no one really knows what's going on with it.
I haven't given up.
And,
I'm gonna do a podcast
well,
episode on it.
I think the
I've
DAO
got
is
the
going to
numbers to
allow
back it
us
up too.
to raise those issues again. But like,
Yep.
just
It
the
killed my
difficulties
ability as a
involved.
studio to continue making money.
We want to do the marketplace for a boot group where we have offer tokens to holders of our NFT collection, and they have the ability to spend it on a marketplace where they can claim assets to
Yeah.
help improve their experience, or whatever. And little things like that are really important. And just the Sandbox saying, "Hey, you can submit a request for them through here," isn't a sustainable channel.
Yeah. Fair. The starter pack.
I think HODL shares the same frustrations in that too.
So now, how do we want the DAO to help the sandbox? HODL, let's start with you, the cynic.
It's funny because I feel like that's not how people perceive me as a cynic, but I am.
Yeah, I don't think they do either. I definitely didn't.
The truth comes out, right?
Truthful. Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking honestly.
There's so many people involved in the sandbox that I care so much about, and
Yeah.
I want to take care of everybody. And it's really hard when I see them getting steamrolled and not being able to do what they want to do and should be able to do within the sandbox. Anyways, what was the question? Sorry.
Where do you see the DAO helping the sandbox game?
I think if some of the community members can get SIPs going, like you, with a focus on improving the experience for builders and players, then I think it'll be great.
I'm big on the experience for the players. That's what I'm passionate about. I want there to be
because without the players, there's no point.
Right. My heart, though, now that I've learned how to build and I've worked with Meta Theory Studio and Dream Junk, I get it. I'm sympathetic to their plight right now.
So
sorry, I
I mean,
interrupted you. Go
there's an opportunity. That's okay. There's an opportunity to improve the Sandbox game, which is what it's supposed to be. But I don't think that the council, whatever they are, advisors, I don't think that's their focus. I think their focus is making money. And
Really?
the two could sort of go hand in hand.
Okay. I've heard excuse me. I've heard Shannon speak, and I looked her up on YouTube and saw some of the other places she's attended. She is big into advocacy. Very big into advocacy. She stated her goal many times on many different venues that her goal is to diversify the perspective of the I'm gonna get that part wrong. The NFT market and the gamer in the metaverse. So that's where she came up with World of Women, and so she's interested in ensuring that other perspectives, from whether they be minority groups or whatever they may be, underrepresented communities, have a bigger voice. That's her stated goal, and that's why she said she's mostly involved.
I think that's a great goal. When I had my podcast before, it was focusing on women in Web3 and the NFT space. And there's absolutely a need for more of that. But that doesn't need to be the focus, especially right off the bat. Like, build a good platform and then bring everybody in.
Okay. So do you see the DAO as a way to help the player and the builder? Is that what I'm hearing?
I would hope so. That's my dream for the DAO, but it's going to take some work to get there, because obviously these first few sips are not really focused on that. I mean, there's some vague things in the budget about going towards
Right.
builders challenges
Like
and
live ops and all sorts of
and
categories.
streamers. I'm like, hi, I'm a streamer. Do I get a piece of
yeah.
this pie, or who are we talking about here? So I'd like to see a lot more clarity about the budget, and yeah, more sips from the community for sure.
Oh man, I'm so looking forward to building these sips out. Although the template's a little long, so I have to come prepared with like data, and it might take me a little bit to get some of these out, because I need to demonstrate to the community what it is this little tiny thing will do. I mean, I anticipate it costing, it will cost $0 from the Sandbox fund. At least I'm not going to request any, unless I thought all the time and effort I put in, and sometimes I have to buy graphics. Like, would anybody be mad if I asked for like 100 sand or something? Would that be a turnoff?
It's like one little scoop of sand on the beach, right? I don't think anybody would notice.
Okay, I just don't want to turn anybody off, but I am investing time and money into this to make it be as quality as possible. And I mean, I don't feel strongly either way, but I'd like to, if it doesn't turn anyone off, then maybe 100 sand, something like that. But my going line is that it's probably 0. Definitely not going to ask anything for like long-term or milestones or whatever. Andy, what do you think about the DAO? How do you want the DAO to help the game?
Talking about diversification within the space, I think the space has to exist before you can say that it isn't diverse enough. Which means that you have to invest the time into developing a place for the developers and the builders to develop and create those environments. And then if those environments aren't diverse enough, you can step in and focus on diversifying them. But at the moment, they don't. There's too many frustrations for either a player or a developer within the sandbox, and those frustrations should be addressed first. I had a simple issue that I've been having for like a week now, and touch wood, I think it's fixed. But the issue was, if I opened up, I tried to launch a game in the sandbox, it crashed the launcher instantly. Yes. And I'd have to do it 20, 30. I'd be sat there for 45 minutes on stream trying to load into my own social hub just so I could play hide and seek with the community or something. And it took like 2 weeks for the sandbox to fix the issue. And yeah, they did it quite quickly, but at the end of the day, I'm live streaming every day for 2 weeks, and these issues are getting aired. The issues are being shown, and I think, I'm not saying that they should fix it instantly, but I think that situation highlights the issues that we have in the sandbox. It's difficult for us as developers or builders within the space to be able to use the tools without having some simple frustrations, and those frustrations turn into us not wanting to do what we want to do, and disliking the passion or so on. So I'd like to see the DAO used to either, like you say, submit small issues or changes in the direction of the development for the future of the sandbox, or I'd like to see things like Sandrush, where if funds are being asked for or requested, they bring more value to the community.
Yeah, I agree with both of you. I think I mostly closely reflect to HODL. I want the DAO to benefit the player and the builder. The builder, let's say the developer. So that's the game maker and the Vox editor. I want these SIPs to prioritize our frustrations so that they are addressed first, versus I'll just say versus the interests and designs of those who maybe don't open the sandbox every day and don't play the games as often as the players do. These players, they come, and it takes them a while to get into the game. And I'm not talking about the download speed. That's could be whatever. But the process that you go from landing on the page to entering into the 00 hub, too many clicks, too long. If you compare that to other competitors, they are doing it way faster. And we have a player retention policy problem. When people come, there's not enough replayability to keep them here, to organize their player events around. I used to organize a lot of player events, like 400 players every week would play a game. In the game I used to stream for and podcast for. And the organization it took to make that happen was because the game made it relatively easy for us to build around them, so that we can build almost like a American NFL or a FIFA around the sport. That was kind of what we were. We broadcasted events and we refereed them, and we held tournaments so that different servers could play each other. The organization that went into that, the people who were on it, like myself and others, we were passionate about it, and we were able to organize events around it. Right now, that's super hard to do. Plus the player count, and also the barrier to entry to even get into the game. So I'm interested in bringing that down via SIPs, finding ways that make sense to prioritize the game developers' time so they can remove that barrier to entry so that people will show up faster and stay longer. I can't do much about people, going to building more mini games or more replayability stuff. That's on every developer for themselves. But that's how I see Sandbox DAO helping the game, is prioritizing developer time toward our frustrations that will lower the barrier for new players and keep players coming back. And then eventually we get to some of the stuff that Seb said, which was pretty exciting. Working the DAO to where it is self-sufficient and it's not just a drain on the resources. It also accrues revenue. And that's one of the reasons why, one of the things he mentioned for that carbon neutral pairing trade they're going to buy that passed. He said a long-term benefit for that could be a revenue-making contributor. I don't understand it all that much yet until I've delved into it more deeply, but yeah, that's where I'd like it to go. All right, what does it mean for the DAO to be run by SandFam? What do you think, Andy?
I don't know if that's a good idea. I don't think the DAO should be run by SandFam.
Tell me more.
Yeah, Sandbox is $1 billion company. You don't just pick random people and put them in charge of it because they're part of the community. I think it's more important about making sure that their opinion, their frustration, their perspective is understood and valued, and whatever decision the Sandbox DAO makes should have that in mind. That's all. Be considerate, but I don't think that. Yeah, I don't think the DAO should be run by the community. I think the community should have their vote and say, but don't allow the community to run the Sandbox. It's a bad decision.
Okay. How do you see it going wrong?
A company has to take risks, and not everyone likes those risks or can understand that. I always talk about Elon Musk here and his flamethrower. Every person, when he was building that flamethrower, every person would have said, no, that is a bad idea, that is a stupid idea, what are you doing? And then when it launches and it's very successful, everyone's like, wow, genius, great idea. But the community isn't going to think like that as a whole. They're going to think safer more than riskier, and I don't think it's...
Risk averse?
Yeah, Seb's got the company to where it is today with us being with us without us having any input in the direction and the future of the sandbox. And
Fair.
he knows how to run a company. At the end of the day, it's not the first time he's done it. So I think this company is a bit different because it is very much involved in the community. The community have invested almost in it. That's the way that blockchain and NFT games work. And I think with that comes a lot more frustrations, but definitely the community's input and value should be heard, and I hope that's how we utilize the DAO. But I don't think they should be in charge at the end of the day.
Okay. HODL, what do you think?
I think no one entity or group should be in charge of it. So right now I feel like the SandFam, quote unquote, which is just a made up thing
Sure.
that we've all, a name we've given ourselves, a label.
Label we've given ourselves.
I'd like to see some representation on the council, committee, whatever they're called.
What kind?
Either from build or player perspective or a bit of both. So like, I know Kristen, but I think she's a representative for both sides. And I'd like to see somebody like that involved.
Did you say two?
At least one person.
Okay.
Oh, I said Kristen.
Kristen.
Sorry. But Touche is a good example.
You
Sorry if
broke
I
up
keep
there,
cutting
so I
out.
thought, yeah, it's all good. Kristen? Oh, candidly Kristen. Okay. You haven't heard from her since she said she'd be open to it? I hope she's okay.
She's busy, Mama. I know the feeling.
Yeah. Okay, so you'd like more representation, but you don't feel that any one group or person should be in charge of the DAO. You cut out there. Did you say yes? Did I have that right?
Yes, sorry. I don't know why my internet's struggling right now.
All good.
Yes. Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. For me, I'd say what it means is that, Andy, your point's well taken, man. Seb and his team have gotten to where they are without our direct input. But I think what that means for us is that we have a vote in the direction of, so they build the house for us to live in, and then we vote on where we want the furniture, where we, what color we want the walls to be painted. We don't vote on whether or not we should knock the house down. So that's
100%.
where I see us being. Okay, and
Yep.
I have a real life thing that I need to go see for a few minutes. But let's start off with the next question. Andy and HODL, what do we know of the advisory board and special council, and maybe just talk through who you know and what you've seen of them. And I'll be right back. Andy, go ahead.
You go.
You better go in
I'll
because I
first.
haven't.
Okay. I keep getting confused with which one's which. Let's start with the team at the top, though. I think it's the advisory board.
Pull them up.
I agree with the advisory board. I'll have a look.
It's a lot of CEOs on the advisory board.
Oh, the special council, sorry, is what I was going to do first.
Mm-hmm.
I agree with all of them. Like, you can't not put 7. You can't not put Yat on there. And then if the other 3 are heavy invested in
Right.
it, then you can't not put them on it. I agree with them.
And to be honest, I haven't heard of any board.
You haven't heard of who?
Any of the people on the advisory board.
I only have heard of Loretta and Matthews. Hermit Crab Studio built some stuff very early on, but I haven't
I've heard of the studio. I've heard of the studios, but not the people.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, when Hermit Crab Studios did something a long time ago, but I haven't heard from them in like a year at least of anything that they've done. I don't think the advisory board should be as it is. I don't think any of those people have enough knowledge about the sandbox to be able to make the decisions or advise on it. But at the end of the day, they're only advising. They're only going, yeah, we think so, or no, we don't. At the end of the day, the community can have their vote and do whatever they want with it. The advisory board aren't going to be able to reject an SIP. They're just going to say that they vote negative against it.
Yeah. Well, the way Cyril explained the advisory board is they have no say over the proposals. Only the council does. And the council only get to say whether or not it's legal, moral, ethical, and should go to a vote. But the advisory board, they said, is just advisors from different sectors of where Seb and the special counsel and the Constitution believes the DAO should be oriented towards, which Seb said many times is centered around, he wants to be the cultural epicenter of the metaverse. Cultural capital, I think were his exact words. So he believes these people could help aid them in going that direction. That was the way I understood it. And I'm pretty sure I got pretty close to what they were saying exactly.
Yeah, because these are just the smiley face, really, aren't they? At the end of the day, I know that's bad, but like when you go and look at the proposals, there's a smiley face at the top whether they agree whether it's positive or negative, and that's it at the end of the day.
I don't think the advisory council.
That's the group that are on your screen right now. Oh, it's gone. And behind it. Yeah, no, not Seb and Yat, not that team. The other team.
The advisory
council. Yeah.
Board, dang it, you're right. Advisory board. Is that
so
what
confusing? It's so confusing.
Oh, the council, that's special council recommendation, not the advisory board.
Oh, is it? Okay. My bad.
I think I'm just going off the word, Andy. I don't know for sure, but that falls in line with what Seb and Cyril said, is they have no input into the SIPs.
Yeah,
I thought input into the direction of things like, I actually don't know. I need to go read what they said. They have advice. That's all I know. But the council, they're the ones who say, yeah, this fits what we're after, and we put it to a vote.
I agree that like the team of Seb and Yat should be able to say, hey, that doesn't align with the direction that we want to take in the future, or that'll clash with the direction that we are taking, and that's why that can't go ahead. Because at the end of the day, it's his company. He should have the vote of where it goes.
Yeah. Well, according to him, though, he wants to eventually off-ramp himself from that place. He wants to give it to where, he's mentioned this word timeless multiple times. He wants to create a timeless DAO that leads the direction of the development for the game. I'm pretty sure I got that one right.
Seb's always for UGC, like always. And he said that eventually, like, the sandbox will just become its own little ecosystem that just ticks over. But as you were saying before about the house metaphor, we got to finish building the house first. And like, this is like selecting our family almost, is the special council and the advisory board.
We lost him.
Maybe he didn't agree with that one. He just got up and left. I think it's going to be good at the end of the day.
Totally, we got to build. Yeah. But it's going to be a while before we get there. These things take time. Rome wasn't built in a day, and neither was the sandbox. Was that his dog going nuts before?
Maybe.
Hope everything's okay.
Yeah. I think at the moment though, there's nothing that has had a negative impact on us as a community. The DAO all of the SIPs that have been approved, I don't think any of them really have a negative impact on us. And I think if it gets to a point where there is a decision that, say, the community don't agree with, but the sandbox wants to do, I think then is when how they deal with it will determine how the DAO is like perceived for the future.
Yep, well said. That kind of goes with what HODL was saying earlier, where she, when you mentioned the interest may wane, which gives people free license to do whatever, and that negative reaction will just compound on itself. Okay, so we know. So I think the basic thing here is that we know some of the special counsel, and we don't really know the advisory board at all. Yes?
Yes.
Thanks, HODL. Did you either of you say that you knew anyone from the advisory council, or excuse me, the advisory board?
We know the two on the top right. I do anyway.
Matthew?
Yep, and Loretta.
Okay. How do you know?
I know
how
the
do you know Matthew?
studio names, but I don't know the people.
Okay.
Yeah, Matthew is the leader of Hermit Crab. Hermit Crab have created some experiences and were quite active in the sandbox
Okay, cool.
for a couple of years, but I haven't really heard much from them in the last year, I was saying before.
Gotcha. And you know Loretta from where?
I've had interactions with them before.
Got it. Oh, she was a consultant to the Kingdom of Japan. Okay. And you said, HODL, that you recognize the studios, but not the people.
Yeah, exactly.
Gotcha.
I've heard of Smobler, I've heard of Hermit Crab, but the people behind are not names that I recognize.
Gotcha. All right, let's look at the council one more time. So, Frederick. What do we know about him?
He owns that company that is an investment company in France, I think. I'm not sure though.
So, have we seen him involved in the community or done anything?
No, you wouldn't. I don't think you've heard from many of these people, probably, apart from Seb, or you'll hear from Yat because of the involvement with Sandbox.
Okay. I have heard him. He has shown up at the AMAs, so that was interesting. And I have a number of things that he's described. What about Jean-Michel? Sorry if I mispronounced that. John Michael? What do we know about him? Has he been involved in the community?
I couldn't tell you if I've ever spoken to him.
Okay. HODL?
Or heard
Oh,
him
wait a minute.
speak even.
Senior executive at Ledger. There we go.
That was his past job, wasn't it?
Yeah, as of last year. Yeah.
Yeah.
But, I mean, you
Still
probably
waiting
have
for
all
my
played the
Ledger
Ledger experiences, right?
Yep.
Huh.
Yeah.
I'm gonna save you the trouble of asking me. I don't know who any of them are, except for Seb and Yat.
Fair, HODL. That's fair. That's fine. That's totally fine. That's fair. I missed that he was at Grail Capital he was senior executive at Ledger. That makes more sense now. Okay, and then Shannon, World of Women. I mean, I think that one does speak for itself.
She's been involved in the Sandbox for a while. Will the
Yeah.
Women was in the first season, I think,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they've stuck around since. And
I
she's
think it was
become a lot
season
more
2,
active
but
recently.
yeah. No, you're right. She's been in it for a while. I was
They were in
interested
season 1. They've been featured in we had an area in the social hub.
Gotcha. Okay.
They might not have had their own experience, but they had a little like feature area.
Yeah. Well, Shannon, if you're watching, I am a WoW holder, so thumbs up. Been a big fan for a while. Okay. Yet, Animoca Brands. I read somewhere, I think it was Google, that Animoca owns the Sandbox.
Yeah.
How does that work? Do you know, Andy?
Animoca funds loads of companies. There's quite a lot of Web3 games that they've funded, and they like. I don't know if I don't want to use any words that aren't correct.
Okay.
But they have a lot of like child companies, almost.
Subsidiaries.
Yeah, and the Sandbox, I believe, is one of those. But the Sandbox was bought out by Animoca because it was, I think, the original company was Pixel,
Mhm.
and that's what the Sandbox was created under, the original 2D Sandbox, and I think it's Animoca that bought them. I don't know exactly. You'd have to read about it, but
That's interesting. Yeah, we'll need to delve into that. Interesting. Okay. That's probably got a connection to the Mochaverse somehow. All right.
yeah,
and
they
then-
launched Mochaverse. Yeah,
Got it. And then Seb. We know Seb. Cool. So there's that then. So me personally, I don't throw spears at any of them. I don't know. I didn't listen to the boardroom meeting where they were selected, what their pitch was, and how exactly each of them fits. I know loosely from what Seb and Cyril described is that each one meets a different need of the vision for advising on how the DAO is going to be the culture capital of the metaverse. I'm not privy to the details there, so until I hear a little bit different, then my position is I don't know them much either, and I haven't heard any of them except for Loretta, who appeared in one of the AMAs. So, and thank you, Loretta, if you're watching this, for doing that. So I'm just gonna watch and learn, and then keep exploring this with the community. But they have made it very clear that all of them intend to be replaced by the community. And it sounds like that's going to be December 31st, 2025, or January 1st, when the budget rolls over. Okay, so there's that. And then, special question that I had that popped up during my investigation earlier today. I noticed that Sandbox, the first 3 SIPs, did not vote. I think they may have voted before, but I think they nullified their vote. Like they changed their 1-0 to a 1-1, so 50% each way. I think that's what happened, but in 4 and 5, they left their vote on yes. So that's 27 million voting power toward yes. And I want to know what y'all thought about that. I do remember Cyril mentioning, I think it was in the which one was it? The 4 June AMA, that it was a mistake. So because these closed after the fact, they couldn't have been referring to that, because otherwise they would have just changed their vote.
I believe they
And-
voted on all 5 of them.
Yeah,
And-
I do know they did, but I don't know if they voted on the resubmittals.
They didn't vote on the resubmittals. They said that they weren't going to vote on the resubmitted ones
Okay.
because of the feedback from the community, but they've already voted on the previous ones, so they just left it in place.
Yeah. Okay, here it was. It was the 12th June. He said that it was an honest mistake that they voted on 4 and 5 and that they weren't able to resubmit it because snapshot.org only allows you to have 3 proposals active at the same time, and they didn't have like the verified account yet, so they couldn't resubmit 4 and 5 and then remove their vote or not vote in the resubmittals. He said it was an honest mistake. Please forgive them. And so now that I reread that, maybe I don't have a question about that anymore. HODL, do you forgive him?
How do you make a mistake like that? How do you accidentally vote?
I don't know. When I voted, I had to, sign it and all that. I'm not sure.
Hmm.
Don't know.
I will refrain from commenting on that.
You're skeptical. You're skeptical. Okay. Got it. Andy?
Yeah, I'm a bit the same. I don't know.
Skeptical?
Like,
All right.
We fixed the issue, but we didn't fix the issue here because we couldn't fix the issue there. But we fixed it over there. It's just, yeah.
I'm following. I'm picking up what you're putting down. I get it. Okay. Yeah, and I give them the benefit of the doubt. At this point, I see their actions starting to align with their words. What they did not vote for the 3, and they re-wickered it to where land is there, and they allowed the first batch of community sips. All right, we keep going, and then I'll just keep watching and commenting. Okay. And were there any questions that y'all wanted to ask, Andy?
Not really. I
Not
don't
really?
think so. I think we just have to stick together a little bit and, like we say, have these discussions, make sure we're aware of everyone's perspectives, and then vote however you see according.
Yeah.
But I think make it easier for the communities to submit SIPs, offer more support, and make the process as easy as possible. And hopefully we'll have a lot of positive stuff from the community.
Okay. HODL.
Yeah, same. No questions. Just like a suggestion. If you have a proposal, make sure you get it out to the people in the community. And I can definitely be a point person on that. If you if you put something out there, I will try and refrain from swaying people's votes, but I would like people to be able to vote on them and be aware of them.
Okay. And if there's anyone in the community who wanted to ask a question, now's the time. We're getting close to wrapping up.
I guess question for you really is, what's your thoughts on this? As in, like, if you could recap what your perspective is, because you've done a lot more diving into it over the last 48 hours, and I'm curious to see, has digging into the information changed your perspective at all, and what have you uncovered over the last 48 hours? Because you could imagine that there's someone here that hasn't dug in and put the effort in to uncover and deep dive into it. So what could you tell them that you learned from it to save them going through that process, maybe?
Yeah, I began as HODL did, and Kendley Kristen. Very critical, very suspicious. It smelled wrong to me. As the 3 weeks unfolded, and as I wrote down things like this timeline and the interesting facts, I got more of my concerns were satisfied. And at the very least, I see Cyril and Seb's words aligning with their actions after the first week. After they started changing and reversing things. So I'm optimistic right now. I'm optimistic that what they say they want to do, they are doing. And I'm optimistic that we have a chance to, at the ground floor, even if we don't have control over the SIPs right now, and won't for some time as a council, I think there's still even room for improvement there. Everything that Seb and Cyril and Shannon and Fred, Loretta, all of them talked about was giving us a way to take over, to contribute as a community, to draw up our lines of how we wanted to do this in a healthy and responsible way. And I'm sitting here thinking, I've seen nothing from any of them that would say that they're not ready for this to happen now. except that the circumstances aren't ready. That's the, fixing all the bugs and getting us on a pattern, like a set pattern of how we can run this DAO. But what that means to us and me right now is I'm thinking that we could even throw in a SIP that would do a special early election for a +1 or +2 on the board or a council. And I think they'd be open to it. Maybe they would decide that it's not quite ready. Maybe. But everything I've heard of Seb and Cyril and the way they describe the way they want this to unfold, I think they'd be open to listening. So I'd say I had 7 SIPs. I probably now have 8. And you can already guess what the 8th one's going to be. Is open up a special early election for a +1 or +2 of the board, or a +1 of the board and a +1 of the council. And then we start opening up that aperture. So they're not unwilling, in my perspective, from what I've uncovered so far, delving into this. They're not unwilling to change. They're not unwilling to consider things they didn't think of before they think they said they've been working on it for the past 3 months pretty diligently to get to May 28th. They seem to be very open to listening to change and the community, but they want the community to be in a place where it can responsibly contribute, Andy. And that goes to what you were saying, how you don't think it's a good idea to hand the community the keys to the DAO with the $1 billion company at stake. And what I see from Seb and Cyril is that they are trying to set the community up to be able to responsibly take it over in a phased approach. That's what I'm seeing happen. Whether or not it unfolds,
slow.
Go ahead.
Sorry. No, you go ahead.
I was finished. I was just rehashing because that excites me, man. This is like the perfect intersection between gaming, business, proper governance, transparency. Like, this is what I was looking into, what I wanted out of a metaverse to put all of my resources and time and effort into. So this is quickly becoming my new passion because of the opportunity that I have to contribute. And all the stuff I've been doing on a volunteer basis up until this point, all the volunteering as like a nonprofit organizer of gaming tournaments and volunteer podcaster for esports and for games. And then I own my own business, like my own novel publishing and music publishing company. And then that's what I added, Meta Worlds to that as a game publisher. So I've been a game publisher before, way back when I was younger. Think of like a website that allowed you to play Tetris with 1,000 people instead of 1 or 2, or Pac-Man with 1,000 people. That was my original idea, and it didn't work out in the end. I was young and inexperienced back then, and now I'm the benefit of hindsight. So I feel like this has prepared me for this opportunity, to where I can be a responsible member and look at it from the communities and as a community member. Be like, hey, Andy and HODL have a point about the way it was rolled out. Now what can I do on the business end, like proposing a SIP to realize a responsible approach or a different approach? And that's where I landed on it right now. I'm excited, man. That's why I have all this set up the way I do and pushing for it on my end, because I intend to contribute. SIPs, nominations, myself, all of it.
I think the community should have say in what goes on with the DAO. But I like trying to explain a little bit more about what I was saying before about them just not having control over it. There needs to be something that keeps them in line. Otherwise, the community just will do stupid things. There's something that happened in the UK not that long ago, really, but they like where they opened the name for that the public can name something new. And the public named a boat, and they named it Boaty McBoatface. And everyone voted for it.
I heard that.
And like that's a concern about giving the community the keys, is that if they do stupid things, then they'll go ahead. So we need to make sure that there's someone to keep them in line a little bit, and that's what I mean by not handing the keys over completely. There needs to be that slow transition period over 10, 20 years where
Yeah,
the DAO becomes its own thing and it evolves into something that's sustainable.
We got to learn our own power, and we got to learn how to use it responsibly. Otherwise, we're a kid you've just been given the keys to the kingdom to, and we could wreck it before we even realize what we've done. And this beautiful thing that's been built comes, and we have nothing to blame but ourselves. Yeah, I agree with that.
So you're saying I should cancel my SIP for Sandy McSandface as mascot?
No, because I'd
definitely do
vote
that.
for it. I think we'd all vote for it. Yeah, and that's the problem. Yeah. Seb to rename himself to Seb Sandy McSand Seb.
Yeah. Well, if you're listening, advisory board and special counsel, none of this was meant to disparage you at all. I didn't mean it that way. I didn't mean any. Nothing I said was an insult or as an insult. It is what it is in terms of we do and do not know some members better than we don't know others. We have seen people be involved before, and for others, we off the top of our heads, Andy, HODL, and I can't recall can't recall what participation you've had yet. So I'm looking forward to seeing what is it you all advise on and how the council governs. And I am hopeful and optimistic, and I like what I saw in terms of what's changed. I like the improvements made since you announced May 28th. So I'm going to involve myself. I'm going to put in some SIPs, and I'm going to likely seek a nomination to anything that I can do to help, whether it be the project management team that Cyril mentioned is behind the legality stuff of the SIPs, or the special counsel or the advisory board or what have you. I intend to be here. Those are my closing thoughts. Andy, what are yours?
Oh, just thank you. Yeah, we covered a lot about the DAO. It's been nice to chat about it, and
Yeah, I love this, man. This is great.
We need to keep having more things like this just to air out issues, as long as we're making progress and not just having a rant on the internet, you know. I think we're all for the DAO. We just need to make sure that what the Sandbox are telling us, the words and their actions are aligning, like you said, and that they continue to happen going forward, and the community can have that value.
Right.
But yeah, it's been good. I appreciate it, and I appreciate everything that you're doing. You put a lot of effort into getting all the information there for the community to be able to go through it, and it's been good to have the chat.
Yeah, I love it, man. I love this. This is my passion, is doing stuff like this, just organizing and making it effective, efficient for us to make good decisions on. The community can choose. I hate the fact when people walk in and we haven't gone to them to show them this is what it means to you, and then here's all of our sources that you can check. And because then people, they heard something somewhere and suddenly that's their perspective, and it's just, I don't know. I regret, and it makes me sad every time I see that. So that's my HODL. What are yours? Your closing remarks.
I'm just glad we have passionate people like you in the space who want to put this work in
and you HODL.
Get the word out there, because that's not my forte. I have opinions, but that's my own opinion.
Yeah.
And I'll do my best to keep getting the word out about things. Obviously, I haven't been streaming a lot of the Sandbox lately, but like I said, interest ebbs and flows, so maybe that interest will come back someday.
Yeah. and thank you so much in the chat. Escape Room, Yuma, I saw Ian, faces I've seen definitely before, and then all the lurkers. Thank you so much for showing up and listening and participating. I'd love to host so many of you on the podcast. There's so many different things I want to hit as a result of this, to make it real, to make it transparent, to make it run well and healthy, so that we're ready to take that assume that mantle when Seb and the council, just like they said they want to do for us. So these future episodes I worked on a little bit before I started the stream. You know, I want to do another part 2 of community reactions. I want to talk about what lessons have we learned from the DAO. I heard Crafter and Shannon mention that they talked to other DAOs to learn. So I want to hear them and then others who have participated in other DAOs. I want to do the business end of publishing experience and minting assets. I have like an accounting sheet of that when I was putting Meta Worlds together to figure out how much money do I need to make in order to be self-sufficient. And then all the problems that started with GMF V2 2.0 and then Catalyst 2.0, and it just throwing all that in the mix. So I want to share those results because I've got numbers to back it up, not just anecdotes. So I'm going to do a podcast to show that. And it won't be a spear throw, but it'll be a interesting revelation that was unexpected to me. Someone who is new to the trusted partner system, someone who is new to publishing. I'd never published an experience before or minted an asset. And then I'm doing it all at once, trying to learn how to be part of this community. And then I hit some roadblocks with what I expected. And I'm struggling as a studio just like everyone else is. Just like Pepe said yesterday, or a few days ago, for SandRush. So I want to explore into community members and the different groups in the sandbox. How do we interact? I want to do an episode on reviewing Sandbox's articles of incorporation, like really putting on a legal hat there and then just going through it. Way forward for developers. That Pepe, I want to talk to Touche, Geekies, Meta Theory, Escape Room, a bunch of other people. Probably Andy, you too. Like what is the way forward for you all do you see right now, given the circumstances of where everything is with Catalyst and Builder Challenge and Game Jam? The new jam they came up with, was it the social jam or something like that? They just announced a few days ago.
Yeah.
How can the DAO help the sandbox?
Stupid.
What was that, Andy?
Nothing.
How the DAO can help the sandbox, which we kind of went today. And then what does it mean for the sandbox run itself? Also, we did today, so I'm just going to strike those off the list. Catalyst chain system. Oh my gosh, that's one of the things that upended my studio is the Catalyst change. So I have some numbers I want to share and get the community's feedback, because that might result in a SIP. So I want to get some other people's opinions other than just my story of how it affected us. Reward mechanics for creators that isn't just Builders Challenge. I heard someone mention that in one of the AMAs. I thought that was awesome, and I want to explore that more. And then different stuff about Mochaverse, how they're involved, AI assets, which is what Pepe mentioned during your stream, Andy, and then tokenomics. Apparently that has a part to play, and I want to learn more about how that factors into the DAO. So those are the things I want to hit, and the current SIP process, as old Pepe from SandRush just experienced. You submit, if you want to submit a proposal, you submit it to the email address that's on the website, and you fill out their SIP template. It's a Google Doc that you fill out, and then you include that in your email. Once that happens, then you go back and forth with the project management team to improve it. After it reaches a point at which that team feels it's ready, they then give it to the the special counsel for a yes, no, does it meet the intent, does it not? Once it goes through them, then it gets put into a vote at the snapshot.org and sandboxdao.com. So that's the way we know it as of right now. And yeah, if you're interested, please start submitting your SIPs so we can start learning what we really want to do about the DAO and how we want to govern it. Thank you all for your time. Andy, HODL, thank you so much for doing this. And at the end of the day, we're all just trying to figure it out. So thank you all and have a great day.
Appreciate you, man. Thank you.
Thanks for putting it all together.
Come on!